Huh. Wrong button. It looks like we are live. Let's get a board view up on the screen. Yeah, so I made one of the cardinal sins yesterday. I did a Windows update. And as soon as I did that, my multimeter and power supply showing up on the screen are not really working anymore. So, yeah, there'll be no more multimeter on the screen until I figure that crap out. I tried for about a half hour and then I just gave up and I got to get on with my day at some point. So, no meter on the screen for you. You want to trade for the Christopher Reeves chair? This thing looks so silly on camera. Look at this chair.
It looks like you're in a dentist chair.
Dentist is a more polite way to put it, I suppose. I messaged you on QuickBooks, Facebook about hot air stations. Do you still have them in stock? I do, but I don't read my Facebook messages because 90% of them is spam, and I don't check Facebook at work, and a lot of them are, have you received this yet? And I have no way to check if I receive stuff. Yeah. Questions, help email, live chat, all that goes to people. Facebook messages just go to a inbox that nobody ever really checks because it's a waste for the most part. Okay. So what do we have to get started on today? I'm just going to be reading my values for my multimeter for the time being until I figure out what the hell Windows Update did. So let's see. I think at the very least I'll be able to show the power supply on screen. Let's see. Let's get this. Can we get that on screen at least? Eh? 18, give me 18 volts. Okay. All right, it looks like I can get power supply on screen, but nothing with the meters. Let me just turn the meter software off since that shit ain't gonna work for a while. 5.1 amps. Turn my power supply on and plug in my board, which doesn't seem to be giving me a green light. Damn, I really gotta get a better place to put this wireless mic thing before it breaks to pieces. I just keep it in my pants pocket for the time being. All right, so it looks like the board is able to draw 0.5 amps, which means it is trying to turn on. So it is trying to turn on, but it's not turning on. I mean, it is trying to turn on, but it's not giving me a light on my charger. So if I were to show you this over here, yeah, look at that, no light. It's a sad little board with no light on the charger. So I don't have a heatsink on, and it seems like the CPU is getting warm. So it's probably in my best interest to turn this power supply off right now before I kill something. So I got to figure out why I don't have a green light. So now, as you know, for the one-wire circuit to work, you need PP3V42 to be present. But it's turning on, so I have to have PP3V42 present. So the one-wire circuit is going to be located on the DC in board over here. So if we were to take a look, remember those two little chips? I'm not walking everybody through everything from the beginning because after wrangling with the RS-232 drivers for half an hour and losing, I just ain't my day for that. So these are the two ICs for the one-wire circuit. If you were to look at an older board like an 820-3115 and look up U6901 and U6900, you'd know that this IC allows the charger at the charge port to talk to this chip over here. And this is the chip that sends power to this one if all the conditions are correct. Do you have boards that are beyond repair? Always. Always have boards that are beyond repair. Got a bunch of them. Let's see. Missing platform reset L. Yeah, that sounds like a dead CPU or a dead PCH inside the CPU. Well, let's see. So I know that there's supposed to be some power, some PP3V42 coming over here. So I'm kind of curious if it's making it. Again, I can't show you on the screen, so you're just going to have to trust me when I read you the multimeter voltages, which is lame. It's a reverse. It's going backwards, but that's what you get, because software. Piece of crap RS-232 converter. I got it to work again for my power supply, but not for this. So it looks like we have 0.1 volts there and 0.4 volts here. And that's supposed to be 3.42. Actually, wait, no, that's because I didn't turn the power supply back on. Ha! Dumbass. All right. Turn power supply back on. And, all right, is drawing. And we get, 1.41 and 1.40 over here. 1.41, 1.40. Hope they didn't do something like FTDI with the drivers. Yeah, it is FTDI. It's some FTDI piece of crap. I was looking for a driver on their website, but I'm not sure exactly what FTDI device it is. So I gave up and uninstalled all my shit. And I'm re-Windows updating, so if I leave in a minute, that's because Windows decided to automatically restart me. Now, I hate Windows sometimes. So let's go over here and take a look at the schematic in the board view and try to figure out why I'm only getting 1.51 volts instead of more. I need to be getting more. I can kind of get used to this Christopher Reeves chair. It's got a... Steve has been making fun of me for having this chair with this headpiece up here, but... Have you read about iPhones throttling the CPU if battery capacity is less than 95% from 1.4 gigahertz down to 800 megahertz? No, I have not heard about that, but I don't use an iPhone, so it's not something that would cross my desk. I really only need them to turn on just long enough to get stuff from them, data from them. So anyway, so if we were to go over here, you'll see that PP3V42 has to show up on the DC inboard connector somewhere over here. Here we go. So this is what's going to transfer the power rail to my DC inboard so that these two chips can get what they need. Now, if I look, let's see, how's my Windows update doing? Damn, I got a lot of windows open. That's a lot of windows. Yep, preparing to install updates, 79%. Hopefully one of those updates will be a working FTDI driver. Anyway, so if we were to go over here to the good old multimeter, into the microscope and zoom in. Well, what is that? What's that? Little buddy? Little buddy? Why haven't you hopped on the net neutrality video bandwagon yet? Because giving... I've really done my fair share of giving libertarian opinions, and people don't usually like it. And I usually don't care what people like or not, but I really don't. I don't know. You have to understand, I think at its core, the reason I don't particularly give a shit, as selfish as it sounds, is, everybody says, oh, they'll be able to charge you more for this, that, and the other, and I pay $409 a month for my internet. Net neutrality, technically, when net neutrality laws were a thing, I was paying $409 a month for my internet. So... I don't really have a dog in that fight. I actually just got a pfSense router recently so that I could do failover with Verizon DSL. So I get Time Warner cable for $409 a month so I can get 20 megabit up just so I could be able to do YouTube streams like this without it crashing. But that internet goes down at least once a week for a few hours. And for those few hours, I won't be able to process credit cards, take phone calls, do business, look up stuff on the internet, use my ticket system. So now I spend about $70 or $80 a month, plus taxes, installation fees, all that crap. I think it was like $300 activation installation for Verizon DSL, which is 3 megabit down and 0.7 megabits up. And I got this nice little $350 Core i5 for LAN ports Kotum mini PC. And what that thing does is when my $409 a month internet connection, $450 something after taxes, goes down, then it will switch over to my $80 a month internet connection that's literally 10% the speed of what I get on my fucking cell phone. That's what I have to do to get internet. And then I walk out the store door, and they got all these Link NYC signs where they're talking about all the New York City socialist programs that they have going on. And one of them is, it'll say something like, there have been this many 1,000 hours of video streamed using free Link Wi-Fi. And my head will just start to explode because it's, I pay $409 a month for one connection that doesn't work, so I got to pay $80 a month for a backup connection that's slower than a cell phone, and then buy a $350 router and spend hours fucking with it to set it up to get working internet just to process credit cards. And where do my tax dollars go? What is my government concerned with? Ensuring that people can watch PewDiePie for free on Wi-Fi. And it's like, I don't know. If I think about it, I'll just explode. So, yeah, I mean, my issue with it is really that the government caved in the 30s and allowed so many of these companies to be monopolies. You know, they said, well, we're not going to build infrastructure if you don't allow us to have a monopoly over an area because then it's not worth it. I think the government should have just said, okay, fuck you. We're not giving you a monopoly. And then a few years later, somebody came along and wired everybody. So you wouldn't be stuck with the monopoly you have today. But the government allowed them to have monopolies. And what do monopolies do? They act like assholes. And then the government has to step in to fix it. Because the free market is evil. But how's there a free market when you don't let anybody else run wires? I don't know. It's all a clusterfuck system. What I would say is, if you're going to get rid of net neutrality, work with local city, state governments and work with them to get rid of all these regulations and all this crap that scares people away from running new wires. Make it easy to run new wires. Make it easy for some billionaire out there who hates Time Warner to say, you know what? I bet I could start an ISP in this area. Like, make it easy for people to do that. Do you have any idea what a fucking nightmare it would be for anybody to get anything done in New York? I mean, even, just doing basic construction, just, fixing something in your ceiling is a nightmare, much less starting an ISP. So if you're going to get rid of net neutrality, make it incredibly easy for people to want to build here. Don't make it a nightmare. Don't make it years and years of red tape and bullshit and approvals and blah, blah, blah. Let some billionaire that wants to run around, creating a competitor, actually do it and put all these fuckers in their place. If you're going to get rid of net neutrality, which nobody wants, but if you're going to do that, at the very least, try to figure out a way to cut through, to allow people who want to compete with the shitty ISPs to actually build. But yeah, I spend over $5.30 a month to have working internet at work, so that's with net neutrality. So you think, I can't, I don't really, yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so back to this. I think I ruined a set of good tweezers there just thinking about that little Link NYC sign. I love that thing. Every time I walk outside, I want to fucking throw my bike through it. Your tax dollars paid for this much free Wi-Fi. Like, your tax dollars are paying for all these people to watch free video. How about you give me some fucking working internet at the store where I'm paying for $500 a month for it. And then we can focus on giving people stuff for free using my money. But no, you're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that, cause hate is not welcome here. Hate being equivalent to anybody that questions where their money is being spent or why. Ugh. You know what the funny thing is? I bet that free Wi-Fi outside, I bet my balls that free Wi-Fi has less downtime than fucking Time Warner. You ever see that sign outside? Yeah, where it's like, New Yorkers have streamed this many hours of video using free Wi-Fi. It's like, that's probably more hours of video than I'd be able to stream on my bullshit internet connection.
Yeah. Sad but true.
You know what we should do? What if we connect to that and just get rid of Time Warner and Verizon? Because, fuck it, we're forced to pay for it anyway. It's probably better. No, seriously, let's make a Pringles cantenna and point it at wherever that thing is. Because if you're able to stream thousands of hours of video, surely you can handle a couple of ticket notes.
I know, right?
A little bit of voice over IP.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so let's try to make this connection great. At the very least, greater than my fucking internet. So it looks like we may have to run a jumper in there. Or that little bodge may actually do it. I think that bodge may actually do it. I spent 3 hours today doing trace repair on a torn $129 iPhone 7 button and failed. What are you fixing? Well, that's better than me. I spent an hour trying to get my fucking multimeter to show up on screen after a failed Windows update, and do you see a meter on the screen? No. So let's see. Let's make this great. Let's make this get a green light. Yeah, again, the issue is when people talk about regulation and whether the internet and net neutrality should be regulated. If you want to deregulate, okay, all I ask for is consistency. You want to deregulate that? Cool. Make it so that you don't have to go through years of fucking misery in order to run wires for a competing, so a competing ISP does not have to deal with all the city and state and other government bullshit. But that's not how it works. You deregulate at the federal level, but then you have all these regulations on construction at the local level, and that is not a solution in my opinion. You got either deregulate all the way or regulate, but don't do this half solution BS. Because if you make it different, because this is the thing, these ISPs love it. You're going to make it so that they're not regulated, which is something that I'm typically for, but then you're going to regulate the hell out of people who want to start competing ISPs, which, I don't understand that at all. But I think that's really more an issue of local versus federal. If you're going to have federal deregulation on internet, then you should have local deregulation to some extent on what it is people would need to start infrastructure in that area. Maybe just give everybody the passwords of the free Wi-Fi. Do you know if schematics are out there for the new Dongle Book Pros? For one of them, yes. For some of them, no. I do kind of wonder what would have happened in the 30s if they said, you know what, yeah, screw you, not giving you a monopoly just so that you can build in an area. Because everybody says that nobody would have ever built, but how do you really know that? How do you know that no ISP, that no phone service provider, that nobody would have built anything? You can't really know that unless you go back in time. Maybe it would have been terrible. Maybe it would have been much better. But you never really know. You can't know what was not allowed to happen. It's like if I say, if I wasn't here to run this solder blob, this board would never work. But what if I wasn't here and instead of running a solder blob, you had somebody much better than me that just placed on a new connector using this amazing tool that didn't require wicking or scraping or anything? You can never know. All right, so check it out. I got a light. So that fixed it. That's awesome. There we go. That is beautiful. 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 Look at that. That little HAL 9000 right there. And we're grabbing 0.4 amps, which means it's turning on. And I should probably see if it's got a backlight because I can see a little bit of funkiness over here. So maybe we see if it has a backlight first. If I were a billionaire, I would definitely open an ISP in New York to compete with Time Warner and Verizon just on spite. I wouldn't even care if I lost money doing it. As long as I didn't go completely broke. If I was a billionaire, that's probably the first thing on my list. But yeah. Yeah, deregulate all the way. Don't have There's this video I did on a half bitch versus whole bitch, and I would say getting rid of net neutrality without getting rid of the regulations that keep people from constructing competing networks in these areas. You got to imagine the jobs that would be created. Like, how many people would you need to actually run wires to every single household and business in New York City? I mean, that would be a lot of jobs. We got a lot of people in New York that don't work, so that would be great. And you know what the funny thing is? I have this crazy feeling that, everybody says big corporations hate regulations, but I think sometimes they like them. I think Time Warner, okay, we don't have a short to ground, that's all I'm looking for. See if you can read the meter from there. So Time Warner is absolutely in Spectrum. They don't want net neutrality regulations. But you know what I think they're really happy with? You know what I think they really like? That there's a lot of red tape that doesn't allow somebody else to compete with them. It's interesting because there are certain Democrats that are really, really into open borders. They preach that I'm a staunch liberal, staunch Democrat. We're really into open borders. We're really into, like no wall, no ban. But they don't seem to like labor unions or regulations or minimum wage law. It's kind of funny the way that works. There are people that are really for regulations when it's for them, but they're not for regulations when it's for the people that are going to be competing with them. It's one of those things that you have to look out for, like there are a lot of fake conservatives, I would say, in big business where they like deregulation that helps them. They don't like deregulation that helps their competition. There are a lot of fake Democrats that they really believe in that open border stuff, but the moment you start talking about all that other stuff, like unions, like supporting the worker, like minimum wage law, they're like, that's, you got fake on both sides. So let's see. Do I get a light on the screen, or does it blow up? So you're never going to see a light from this angle. It's going to take a bit to turn on, too. Hey, we got a light on the screen. Well, you'll have to take my word for it, because I don't have the ability to show you voltage with the meter. Actually, can I? Let's see. Zoom. You can kind of see the meter right now, right? Volts. There we go. This will have to do until I get my... No! Come back! Cancer guy. Here's a small piece for your million and greetings from German Italian Service Tech. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Yeah, 24 volts. That's a backlight. That's a backlight. Thank you to Cancer Guy. That's a really interesting name that I appreciate. Windows update restarted my computer out of the blue. Yep, does the same to me. Root into something says fuck net neutrality, made internet title to utility, and allowed for more extensive government spying and shit. Can it even get worse than it does now? I mean, I'm not saying that as saying you're wrong. I'm just genuinely interested. Like, can government spying on the internet get worse than it does now? Would it even matter if it was legal or illegal? I mean, does the NSA particularly care? Who was that guy that I'm thinking of? The one that Snowden said was lying clearly. James Clapper, that's the dude. I mean, I don't think that any of those people particularly care about what is legal or not. I think they just do it anyway, and it's genuinely interesting with all this talk about people that were lying to the FBI or not lying to the FBI about the most trivial of shit. That dude lied about so much crap and nobody cares. I think it would be great to see somebody like James Clapper actually have to be held accountable, but that will likely not happen in my lifetime, or sadly in his. Okay. Leave a note for this and move on to the next one. Big government corporations love regulation. It means difficult to compete with them. Yeah, I agree with that. You know, like for example, if I want to fix stuff, I need a $350 license. If I want to sell stuff that's been repaired, I need a license to sell and a license to deal with refurbished or secondhand goods. So overall, with the bond, it comes out to maybe $1,500. So if I hire somebody and I'm treating them like shit, let's say I'm paying them like $7 an hour, docking their pay by an hour if they're 5 minutes late, being a real asshole, and they don't have enough money to be able to compete. Well, if that person wants to open next door, let's say he wants to broker a deal with the guy in the deli and say, I'll pay you at the end of the month 50% or 30% or whatever of what I make. I just want to be able to take my customers in the back of your deli just so I have a space to work. If the person that quits because I'm treating him like shit wants to do that, he can go do that. But if he needs to get $1,500 in licenses to compete with me and he only has $20 in his bank account, well, he can either not compete with me or he can compete with me, but the moment he opens up and I hear from a customer that he's opened up, I can walk in and see if is there a license here. And then when I see there's no license here, I report him to the Department of Consumer Affairs. He gets fined thousands of dollars or closed. And hey, great for me, right? If I was an asshole, that's a great way to get away with it. People ask me all the time, well, Louis, you started your business with $250, but the cheapest license in your business is $350. So how did you do that? And it's one of those, I'm not explaining that on camera moments, but you could probably guess how that went. So, yeah, when I see when a regular person who's just starting out sees a bunch of regulations, they're like, oh dear God, no way, I can't do it. I'm just going to go back and work at Annie Says or Northfield Savings Bank as a teller. But when a big business owner sees regulations, they see, it's great because it's kind of like paying to keep your competition away. I can afford to pay, somebody a few $1,000s a year to deal with all this crap, but somebody else can't. And what I'm really getting is not compliance with the law or the regulations. What I'm paying for is the barrier to entry for competition, for people that may be able to compete with me on price or quality just a little bit better, who are more talented than I am, but who don't have that startup capital. Because it's a joke, to get these licenses, and, no offense on myself, but really, to get these licenses, all I had to do was show up, write a check, wait a few months, and give my fingerprint. And some of them you don't even need the fingerprint for at all. They never asked me if the quality of my work was good. They never asked to check my solder joints. They never checked to see if the glass was lifting on my iPhone screen repairs. They never checked to see if I was setting up SIP ALG properly when I set up free PBX phone systems for vets or doctors' offices to ensure that after 15 minutes the calls don't drop. They don't check any of that. There's no quiz. There's no checkup. Nobody gives a fuck. There's no quality assurance. And when people say, well, you have to get a license so that people know that that's bullshit. That's truly, if somebody has a bad experience, they file a chargeback. Or they take it to Yelp or Google, which actually affects my business. The license doesn't mean jack shit. It's really just a way for the city to grab money, to use it to offer programs and crap to buy votes from the general public, or it's used by big business to keep small business away. And sadly, it works. But that's for another day. So let's scroll back here. Do you listen to the No Agenda podcast? Please check it out. It says Mike, last name that I really feel bad for not being able to pronounce because you donated $5, but I can't pronounce it. No, I haven't. So No Agenda podcast. I will check that out. Let's see. What have I missed? I probably missed a few since still don't have my sound card here yet. So have I missed anything? Nope. I feel like using this thing since I did pay for it. I feel a little richer now that I got that thing. I usually have shaky hands. I have no problems working on Mac boards, but do I have any chance of being good at iPhone? Board repair. With practice, I would say yes. With practice. You gotta be at a point where It's funny because I see how that's blinking on the screen, but it's not blinking in here. That's really kind of cool. It makes it look a little. Hmm. You know, you familiar with Thomas Sowell? I am familiar with Thomas Sowell, not his work in. Oh, I thought you said electronics. I'm familiar with his work in economics. I like Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams. Larry Elder. I heard Don Lemon once use a roundabout way to call him an Uncle Tom on CNN. That's. Damn, I'm behind by 8 minutes in the comments. As long as the NSA is not stealing any of my rare Pepes. Well, they probably will steal your rare Pepe someday. You support what Snowden did? That was a tough one. When it first happened, I thought I was on the fence. And one of the things I noticed is that people when it first happened, what I noticed was this great divide. People who were over 40 seemed to universally think what he did was screwed up. People under 40 seemed to universally believe that he was a hero. I noticed that dividing line when I spoke to people, and it was typically based on age. Of course, there's exceptions. There's always exceptions, but I noticed this defining line based on age. If you were over 40, people thought he was a traitor, hang him. Under 40, people thought he was a hero. As time goes on, I'm leaning more and more towards hero, because I understand that the government, when doing certain things and taking certain military action, is probably not going to want to. It's probably not in the best interest that exactly what they're doing at a certain time and all that's out there. But at the same time, the United States government has just done so much horseshit that needs to be exposed. Let's see. What do we have here? Government is like the mafia. You're paying for protection. Exactly. Pay me. You could either pay the mafia a certain amount of money per month, and if somebody else opens a business in that area, think about it. Think about it. The mafia charges you a certain amount of money, and if you do not pay the mafia, they fuck up your business. The government charges you a certain amount in licensing, and if you do not pay, they come and fuck up your business. If you are paying the mafia and somebody else is not paying the mafia on your behalf will go and fuck up that competitor's business. If I'm paying the government and my competitor, who is an ex-employee who didn't pay for a license, is not paying for a license, and I am, then I can tell the government, I paid for my license, he didn't, go fuck up his business. Does the mafia care about the quality of that laundromat? No. Does the government care about the quality of my business? Again, does the government care? How many people here have a government license? Raise your hand if you're watching and you're a repair shop with a government license. All right? Keep your hand raised. Now, keep your hand raised if the government has ever come and checked the quality of your solder joints. Keep your hand raised if the government has ever asked your customers or asked for an email list of your customers to email them to say, hey, should this person be licensed? Did they do a good job? Come on, man. See it for what it is. You got to see it for what it is. All right. So, what do you think about Ben Shapiro? You typically like Ben Shapiro. Like 5% of the time, there are points that we could really argue about, but I like that in spite of the fact that he's conservative and particularly religious, that he never invokes religion, or at least to my knowledge or understanding. From what I've heard, he doesn't invoke religion in his arguments because he wants the argument to be universal. That's something I think is a good practice. So let's see what this board looks like. No Agenda is a podcast that does media and news deconstruction that's live twice a week, hosted by Adam C. Curry and John C. Dvorak. Well, I will definitely check it out. Thank you. What do you think of cryptocurrencies? I think it is one of the things that people will say is... one of the things that bothers me is when people say, well, the free market exists and X, Y, and Z happened. But I don't think that you can have a free market if you don't have a free market in money. That's something I've heard Peter Schiff say for a long time. And I don't think we do really have a free market in money. But getting these cryptocurrencies are a way, and especially with all the explosions they're getting recently, they're a way to get normal people excited about a new currency. Because when you talk about Federal Reserve and debt and money printing and inflation, and you talk about the 1913 Federal Reserve Act and all this other crap, people fall asleep for the most part. But this is a really cool way of getting normal people excited about a free market and money. And I'm fairly excited about that. Definitely excited about that. Okay, I gotta fix some of the cancer here. That's quite a bit of cancer. So let's find a board that's not totally destroyed. Replace some stuff. By the way, if anybody could be so kind as to timestamp this, that would be awesome. God bless you all, said the atheist. All right. So where do I begin with rooting out the cancer here? Thank you, Mike. Occupational licensing is the same essentially. Just because you have a license does not translate into your work being a quality standard or guarantee of competency. Yeah, I get it. And don't get me wrong, there are some fields where I understand the government licensing to some extent, where there's some test, there's some board you answer to, there's some body of standards that you follow. For our industry, absolutely none of that exists. And this is all evolving way too fast to get anything even remotely like that. So I think, at least in my opinion, it's kind of silly to even bother having any of it. Cridge says, I like Ben Shapiro because he addresses the tenets of an argument, doesn't get personal, and stays objective. I would tend to agree with that statement. Yeah. It would be interesting if Bitcoin would be to government currency what BitTorrent was to the distribution of movies and music. Because the current system at that is just not sustainable. Alright, so if only I knew a place that I could get this chip, because this chip seems to have a hole in it. I wonder if there's any place that I could find that chip, because I really seem to need a replacement. Where could I go if I needed a replacement chip? Check out our website, mailin.repair, where you can buy chips for your board, by your board. This board being an 820-4924, no problem. Type in 820-4924 into the search box above, and click, and you will get a list of every single chip available for your machine. Not sure which one's for you? Check out the picture. Zoom in on high-quality pictures, taken with a professional camera, that you can easily use to identify whether you are looking at the right product. Not sure if that's it? Read the number off of your chip on the microscope. 148CV, 148CV. If you're not sure, you can check on the schematic. It'll tell you the number of the chip and also the number on the schematic. And it'll give you a list of compatible boards. Store.rossmangroup.com. Free shipping with all orders over $30. Buy today. So let's get ourselves a new chip. Now that I've done my shilling for the day, I have done my shilling for the day. We're just going to clean up that area. That's damn straight, Trish. As I always say, if you're not willing to shill yourself, then who will? Somebody's got to shill. Let's clean up this area a little bit. Now, I usually like to use a little bit of solder wick. If only there was a place that I could get solder wick, similar to what Jessa Jones would recommend. Need solder wick? Go to store.rossmangroup.com. Type in Goot, and you'll find the best desoldering wick available. Goot wick, starting at $3.79 for 1.5 millimeter widths and 1.5 meter lengths. This Desoldering wick includes flux within the wick to allow the solder to flow directly into the wick rather than break off in little balls. Goot wick. Get yours today. So let's buy myself some new wick. Tell me that it's probably in the top slot, meaning it's going to be... Here we go. Found one low on the list that I could reach. Look at that beautiful Goot wick. There's a reason that Goot wick is iPad Rehab's #1 recommended and sponsored wick over the past 3 years. Endorsements may or may not be based on factual information. So let's go over these pads. Jones wick, exactly. If you love what Jessa Jones at iPad Rehab does, get her some wick this holiday season and make sure to get her favorite brand, Goot wick, available at store.rossmangroup.com. All right, let me buy myself another chip. All right, I just bought myself a chip, and I didn't have to wait for shipping because store.rossmangroup.com allows for local pickup. If you're local to New York City, place your order with shipping option local pickup to buy it in the store and save yourself the expense, hassle, and time wasting of shipping. I'm really trying to practice my radio announcer voice. I think once that this stuff is all over, once this business is done for, I want to be a voice actor. I want to do professional shilling. I think that has the potential to be fun. Those capacitors got to go. I thought you said you were done shilling for today, Lewis. Yeah, with the advent of ad blockers, we gotta make sure we put as much advertising into the stream as possible. The stream will just become one long advertisement someday. It'll just be, instead of 3 hours of board repair, we'll have 3 hours of shilling. It'll be amazing. It'll be great. It'll be huge. It'll be amazing. Alright, let me open the board view for this one because it looks like I have a trace over here that is going to have to get repaired. Open 4924. Bam. So what is this? What's up with you, bro? What do I have to fix here? So let's see. That's for SMC TDO. I don't think that's going to be really important. I think what's really killing me are these caps that most likely are shorted to ground on my PP3V42 line. Let's focus on getting rid of those. Someone build a shill blocker. Ha ha ha. Adblock will never know how to block the shilling from within a stream. Come on, little pad. Come on, little pad. Two iron, just get hot tweezers. Hot tweezers requires replacing my FX951, which doesn't support hot tweezers. I wish I had the productive nature strong enough to sell my FR810 and buy a quick. Quick, sell that FR810 before people watch my review of it. Because once they do, I have a crazy inkling that it may be slightly more difficult. Wait, I literally just picked up nothing. So between you and Big Clive, I'm actually starting to understand electronics. Thanks. No, hopefully. I don't see anything I've done in this video that would help somebody understand it. Haven't really gone over any of what I'm doing. Hopefully my other stuff has been helpful. Oh, the resistor will get washed off in the cleaner, I'm sure. Wish you held off in the quick review until after I sold my FRA 10. This board looks like it's bleeding. What's that? Ugh. Go away, you cancer. Hey, Posty. Hey! Only I get to shill in this channel. Greetings from the Netherlands. Huh. Wonder if you live near where Duke lives. Da, 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 da. Okay. Man, that's a nasty PCB, isn't it? Interesting. All the boards I have in here are missing that little piece above them. Hey, this one's got it. There we go. I'm not sure exactly where Duke lives. It's somewhere in the Netherlands. In the middle of nowhere. I envy him. It's far away from people. Oh, shit. Stay down, bastard. Okay. Well, this LCD connector's got to go, but before I bother screwing with any of that stuff, or even replacing it, my main interest is figuring out if it will turn on now that we've adjusted all those affected areas. So I'm going to rip this LCD connector off. It's got to go. But I'm not going to replace it yet. You should host a workshop day where enterprising Apple hipsters can come in and do a community board repair. It'd be like a farmer's market. You don't live in a ghetto, do you? Well, the issue that I would have with that is I used to have a PlayStation 1, not a 3 or any 4 or anything like that, a PlayStation 1 with Street Fighter in the front of the store. And if I turned around and didn't pay attention long enough, it would get stolen. So if people are willing to steal a PlayStation 1 on such a regular basis that I now only play it using Steam in my office and an Xbox controller, if people are willing to steal a PlayStation 1, if I let people into the store, they're probably going to steal everything because it's New York City, and New York City is a socialist cesspool, and it's going to be a fucking terrible, disgusting mess. I wish I had the ability to do stuff like that and let people in, and but I can't, because it's not just me that I'd be fucking over. It's all the people that left shit here that, all that stuff that would wind up on friggin' Craigslist or at some pawn shop somewhere within minutes of me opening the store door. That would be a really cool thing to do, trust me. That's something I've thought about many times. I actually want to contact this one school district. When I open sourced that document, I saw at least 30 people emailing from requesting access and edit access and all that from greenwichschools.org. And I saw that they do elementary school, so it's interesting. People in elementary school are reading a document on how to use diode mode to troubleshoot backlight faults on LP8550 based MacBook Airs? Seriously? I mean, we didn't get to learn anything useful in school, but that's kind of cool. It would be cool to arrange something. I don't know, maybe a field trip. I think it would be cool to have something like a field trip. All right, so let's see if this thing at least turns on now that we've removed all the cancer. So after removing all the cancer, it's drawing 0.565 amps, which means it's probably turning on. And as can be seen from the fan spin, it is indeed turning on. We just needed to clean up some of the dirt, and we needed to replace that clock chip that you can buy at store.rossmangroup.com. Search by the number of your board in the upper right-hand corner, 820-4924. Click and see a list of parts available for your specific motherboard. Orders over $30 get free shipping within the continental U.S. Don't stop. Buy today. Now, this board just needs an LCD connector, but now I know it's worth an LCD connector because it draws 0.5 amps. Veneer, aren't you happy when a board draws 0.5 amps? Why? Why do you hate the YouTube so much? And now to turn the camera to the side to showcase my assistant, who is just about to throw something at me if I actually do that. The work that you will do to not be show up on camera is amazing. What do you think? There's like Weinstein in my audience? Matt Lauer's there with a button? I don't blame you. I don't blame you. You read the comments on those videos. Oh, look at this. Covering the camera to cross. Okay, let's get... Jason, if you worked in the access control business and somebody said they wanted you to install a button under their desk that allowed the office door to lock behind them, would you do it?
So when they enter the office, they can press a button.
I could press a button that would lock the door so that the person who entered can't leave.
Oh, really?
If you were an access control system specialist, would you install that for somebody?
Yeah, I mean, just because it kind of sounds cool.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's viable.
Do you watch NBC News? Okay, we got that all cleaned out. Is the person... What? Oh, let's see. Let's see. Is the person covering the camera the one who taught you how to speak Russian? Yes. She taught me all of my Russian. Didn't you? All the good words that I know. Matt Lauer. Remember that time that Matt Lauer grilled Bill O'Reilly over sexual misconduct? Oh, karma. Okay. You ever think...
Ultrasonic fluid on my drive, please.
Why do you always have the ultrasonic fluid right next to the drive? Venera, somebody said P-I-Z-D-I-E-T. Somebody else says I-D-I space N-A-H-U-I. What does that mean? Idi Nahai. What's... Oh. What do I say back? Idi Sam. Idi Sam Nahu. What did I just say? What did I just say? I probably said something like my dick is itchy, for all I know. Yeah, what'd she say? Hopefully not. Are you left or right-handed? I'm right-handed because the hot air location is far more important than the tweezer location. Hot air is... The hot air... The way I angle the hot air controls whether or not I'm burning plastic connectors, how much heat I'm putting on a specific area. That's very, very important to me. That's more important than everything else. Chipquick or Amtech? Chipquick is sold by Jessa because she gets paid by Chipquick, most likely. That's the only thing I can imagine because that flux is shit. Chipquick flux turns into coal, which is the material that Jessa puts in her children's stockings during the Christmas season, which is probably why she stocks so much of it, because it's probably more cost effective than her actually putting coal in their stocking. But once you use Chipquick, it turns into this hardened, crappy mess. The other thing I don't understand is that Chipquick also smells much worse than Amtech. And Jessa doesn't use a fume extractor because I think that Jessa prefers having flux and smoke and cigarette stuff in her lungs. So I don't understand why Jessa would use that when it is so god-awful in terms of scent. Seems disgusting. All right, so that seems to be good. I would imagine that this board is great again and ready to be put back out into the wild. I think that's that. I do want to do a second stream just so I have it in a second video. I got a notice from my landlord today. I wanted to read. Tenant estoppel certificate. So my building got bought. So I'm just going to clean up my desk a little bit, do that, and then go home. Because I actually have 2 students coming tomorrow that I got to clean up the office, make everything nice for. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you next time. How come I never hear about pay soldering stations? Okay. I'll see you next time after this. Let's talk a little bit about Pace. So I got a call from one of the Pace advertising people around June or July talking about their products. I was kind of feeling them out to see if they wanted to do a sponsorship or something, and it seemed more like they wanted to do a, hey, I'm going to come by with a truckload of stuff for you to promote for free and then leave kind of deal, which I wasn't really that interested in, but I decided, hey, I'll hear you out on all that. And I asked about hot tweezers, and it was funny. So, after this long rant on, how Hacko and Quick are the cheap competitor, they don't assemble in the U.S., we assemble in the U.S., it's great that we assemble in the U.S., but I asked about the hot tweezers, and they said, yeah, we have them, it's just they, how long are you going to use them for? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, how long are you going to use it for? And I said, do you mean for a specific job? Do you mean over the lifetime of the device? And he keeps saying, no, just how long are you going to be soldering for? And I said, why are you asking me that question? He says, because they have a tendency to get really hot and uncomfortable and burn your hands. So you're trying to take the price high ground. You're trying to say, made in the U.S., as if that means something like it's better. But if I use your hot tweezers, I have to worry about them burning my hand? And you're trying to sell a $1,200 hot air station in 2017. No, and the thing is, they never wound up coming by. He said, oh yeah, I'm going to stop by sometime in July or August. It's December. So, it could have been a fun interview. Could have been, he's the guy, to his credit, he seemed nice. He seemed to really know his stuff in the soldering industry. He seemed to be very knowledgeable about the soldering industry. It probably would have been fun to have an interview. He probably would have got a lot of free promotion out of the interview and me trying the stuff. Unless they maybe were afraid that if they brought me hot tweezers that burn my hand, it may not look good to the audience of people who are interested in high-end soldering equipment. You never know. But yeah, that was that experience, and it's been a long time. I don't really have a lot of interest in trying their stuff again. Hot air station, the quick, cheap, efficient, great. The Hacko stuff does everything that I need. I heard that Hacko, Jessa told me that they were discontinuing the hot tweezers, so it may be prudent to find somebody else who makes hot tweezers. But it seems that you could still buy them on Amazon Prime, so I don't think that that's a big issue as of yet. But yeah, that's that. When it comes to pace, I just off of that conversation, it's one of those things where it's like I can't take you seriously before I've even tried it. For all I know, they're great, but after that conversation, it was a little bit more difficult for me to take them seriously as the high-end competitor to the equipment that I use now. But who knows, Maybe I would have got to try them if the guy came over and brought the stuff and wanted to do the interview or got back to me, but they didn't. So, And there are times that I buy, like I bought the Quick before I knew that I would be selling them. I bought it I bought it because there was a lot of demand for it. People wanted to know if this really cheap thing that everybody was recommending was actually good. But I don't get a lot of people asking me about pace stuff, most likely because it's essentially a lot of the same stuff that the competitors have. It's just, take Weller and Hacko, multiply price by 2, and it's just not exciting to me. So that's it. Move on.